Okay, call to order Lowell City Council regular meeting Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, 7:00. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Councilor Harris,
Here.
Councilor Stratus, present, Councilor Weathers, here, Councilor Murray, here.
Okay, all here in attendance. Stand with pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody see any changes to the agenda they'd like to incorporate? Okay. We have no consent agenda. Public comments. Public comments, 3 minutes, and please address the council and keep them simple. If anybody has any comments, name and address if you would.
Burr, 566 East First Street. Happy New Year, everybody. Start the new year. Correct. Okay.
Thank you. We'll second that. Yes.
Regan, 62 East Third. I just have a couple things. I don't need any feedback right now. But you drive around this town and you see very few house numbers. Makes me wonder what first responders are supposed to do if they're called to a house with no numbers. The other thing is these stored vehicles on properties. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay, please.
He's on retired, I have a lot of time to think. And makes me wonder how much on these abandoned vehicles, how much fuel is in the fuel tanks. And how much oil is leaking out of the engine compartment. And a lot of these abandoned vehicles are sitting on grass. And you know what grass, how it grows during the summer. And I'm just curious what's gonna happen if the grass catches fire and there's fuel in the fuel tanks. Just something to think about, that's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Happy New Year, everybody. Larry Shin. I have a couple of notes at the end with Second Street. To piggyback on what Paul said, Jeremy put a nice summary out of the things that were done and are being done by the city. One thing I didn't see was the enforcement of the code section dealing with people who have dangerous stuff around their house, might attack rats. And I know from Hall's standpoint, the person he lives next to has been a dump forever. And if the city doesn't seem to put the screws to those people to get that place within the code section. That's number one. Number two, the old city hall next door here. I'm wondering, it's a city asset. So the question I ask you folks is, what's being done right now to deal with it and turn the asset into money that I know the city dearly needs to get projects done? And I wonder if there's any way that things can be answered. Anyway, I won't go into detail on that, but it's something to think about. The other is the road damage caused by Charter Communication. And I'm a little confused as to why the city's insurance company has not stepped forward and taken care of it. I know there's a big contention problem with who's responsible and who's going to do what. But if I were a citizen living on that road, I would be very unhappy that the city wasn't providing me a properly paved road. So if anybody has any comments to make about my comments, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
The best mattress sale.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Hatch, I live down Carroll Street. I came to my attention through a Facebook post that the city is suing a citizen, a prior former citizen, regarding the deal of the sale of the property over here. This is Jeremy Bornstedt. He was previously on the council. And it just seems to me the city is wasting the people's money doing this, because from what he explains, and I talked to someone who knows him to be an honest citizen, that the city is spending legal fees on something that, on a deal they had agreed to, and now they go back and say that it wasn't a good deal. But I've been in real estate before, you know, when you sign a contract, you sign a contract, and the city should not be spending our money on going after someone like this. And I've got the letter here, if anyone's interested in seeing the letter to the editor he published in the Highway 58 Herald. Yeah, but I was unhappy to see that. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Any council comments? No staff reports? First item of business.
I'd like to agree with all about, house numbers. I think that is an important thing. One thing I don't see around, we don't have, not everybody's got a sidewalk, but even if the houses don't have numbers, I see a lot of cities that stencil it on the sidewalks and at pretty low cost. I know that when I was in the volunteer fire department back in the day, we had a map of all the houses and stuff, and the whole district, but I don't disagree that, I've seen UPS and FedEx and stuff have trouble finding houses in the daytime. I think that, it's wouldn't be a bad thing to engage in some kind of, activity to try to get street numbering done a little bit more throughout the city, and, be pretty low cost, and, if it benefits one individual for them finding a house in case of a medical emergency or fire, but a medical emergency, I think that would be a good thing.
Generally, the fire district that does that, though.
Yeah.
Some cities and fire districts are in the same organization, but since the fire district, you can go to their board meeting. Fire district board meeting. And meet on the second Wednesday.
Well, why should I go to the board meeting? I'm here telling you guys.
No, that's their operation.
I'd be willing to mention it to the fire chief.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, first item up, retention bonus agreement on page 4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a retention agreement that is intended to incentivize Public Works Director Max Baker's continued employment with the city. To that end, the agreement provides a $15,000 retention bonus paid in a lump sum. In exchange, Baker agrees to remain employed with the city for a minimum of 18 months. If he voluntarily resigns or is terminated for cause during that 18-month period, then the bonus must be repaid on a pro rata basis. The retention bonus is justified on the basis that Baker holds the necessary certifications for direct responsible charge designation for water, wastewater, and wastewater collections. DRC designation is a requirement in Oregon for any utility system. If Baker left his employment with the city, then it would be necessary for the city to contract with a firm that provides utility supervision services until a suitable replacement can be found. It's to the city's advantage to retain a highly qualified, certified, and experienced employee such as Baker. Staff do not believe that the one-time retention bonus paid in January would cause an excess of expenditures over budgeted amounts for the month of January. However, a line item transfer would be required prior to fiscal year end to avoid the excess of expenditures from budgeted amounts. And I'll note that the retention agreement is in your packet. I'd like to state that I'm in support of this due to the reason that over the years that I've been a citizen in the community, I've seen a lot of turnover in our public works department. And the cost of retraining somebody to the level that Mr. Baker is at. And we already know the quality of work that Mr. Baker brings to the position. And
you're always rolling the dice, even if you get somebody that has the certifications, that they can bring the same level of work. Seems like over the years, we've been a constant providing a source of public works workers for other cities throughout the state of Oregon, that we pay for them to get their certifications, and then they end up moving on to another community, and we lose those and have to retrain somebody else. And I think the continuity of having somebody understand our water system as intimately as Mr. Baker does makes it it's a worthwhile value to invest in keeping Mr. Baker within the employ of the city.
It's something that's really been a lot more common in the shortage around, for a friend of mine, $10,000 for a baggage handling person in Seattle. I mean, it's crazy, but I like the idea of the retention bonus rather than just increasing pay for maybe, then you never get a chance to really review it, it's always there and it accrues benefits on top of that. The retention bonus is more of a targeted, we want you to stay. I like the clawback, but the payback, provision, because you don't want to be stupid, and say, well, yeah, go spend it all and then leave. So I like the way it's structured. And if that gets us what we intend, I think it's money well spent.
Absolutely.
I think with what's going on with the injunction and stuff, it would be a challenging time to try to replace Mr. Baker as well at this point.
And just again, for the record, these kinds of incentives are not unusual at all. Well used in all kinds of industries and federal government. So.
I'll just share that. Max also brings relationships, positive relationships with county and state officials that would be hard to replicate in a good manner. I think this is something the city has to do.
Yeah, he's been a real positive influence in his 8 seemingly plus years he's been here. He's taken an initiative on so many things. This drawdown, it was hard chasing the waters, making it right and everything. I know he spent a lot of time down at the water plant working with the guys and just testing and seeing if it's changing and everything. And I think we can feel fortunate when we compare our water to some of the other people that was impacted on that. Like I say, his initiative, I think it saved us a lot of money over time, getting in, fixing leaks and starting on things that they could have just said and gotten worse. But like I say, he's a real positive to the people, and he's a real asset to the community, and he's well thought of. So thank you, Max.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on.
Oh, yeah.
We have a motion.
I would to approve the retention bonus agreement with Max Baker for $15,000 and to authorize the city administrator.
Second.
Okay, motion by Gail, second by Kim. Motion to approve the retention bonus. Other questions, comments? Okay. All those in favor of motion to approve a retention bonus agreement with Max Baker in an amount of $15,000 and to authorize the city administrator to sign, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Max. Okay, next up is the Mayor Pro Tem on page 8. Rich Cottle to speak to this.
Our municipal code states that when the administrator is absent from the city or disabled from action as administrator, the council shall appoint an administrator pro tem who has the powers and duties of the administrator, except the administrator pro tem may appoint and remove employees only with council approval. I will be absent from the city from January 5 until January 10. I'll be out of state. I have asked Mayor Bennett to serve as a city administrator pro tempore in my absence, and he has agreed. And I recommend that the council appoint him to serve as city administrator pro tem in my absence.
Question.
I'll make a motion to appoint city administrator pro tempore during city administrator Cottle's rescheduled or scheduled vacation. January 5th, 2024 to January 10th, 2024. And I move to appoint Mayor Bennett in that position.
Okay. Motion by Tim, second by Jimmy to appoint me as city administrator pro temp. Questions, thoughts? And just so people know, my intention is, and I'll go over there tomorrow, sit with the staff a little bit, get the heads up on what's going on, this and that, but it's not an all day type thing. It's go over there, sit in, see if they have questions. If it's something that's important, he's got a phone, and so it'll be going back to him. It's
Yeah, you don't have a cell phone, do you? You don't carry a cell phone?
I don't carry one,
Yeah.
you know, but I will for this, turn it on and activate it, charge it,
Number.
so,
Put some minutes on it,
what's that?
put some minutes on it.
Yeah.
Make sure the hinge still works.
They work the best.
Well,
Explanation's easy.
Okay.
All those in favor, a motion to appoint city administrator pro temp during city administrator's scheduled vacation from January 5th, 2024 to January 10th, 24. To move to appoint myself to serve as city administrator for during those times. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Moving right along. Also, if anything comes up, I will take it to the president of the council to before we act. So I don't see any action, so let's keep it that way.
Don't go crazy.
Yeah,
Power go to your head.
yeah. Okay, page 9, how about this, having to a letter and with our logo going to the governor. Yes, sir.
This is another request from Representative Kate's office. This is on the agenda tonight at a city councilor request. This letter asks Governor Kotek to, and I'm quoting, provide assistance in mitigating damages and fostering a more equitable and community inclusive approach to managing our dams. We urge you to not only advocate for the allocation of, to be filled in, million in emergency funding to cover the incurred costs communities have sustained and will sustain due to the turbid waters, but also to advocate for modification of Judge Hernandez's 2021 injunction to require a balanced approach of priorities and representation for our communities during future management decisions of our dams. I'm requesting input from the council on if you would like to sign on to the letter in the form of us putting our logo on there with other cities as we did at your special meeting last night.
I'm more in support of this than I was in the previous letters. Asking a judge to change their ruling after the fact. This is us asking the governor to advocate for their citizens. I think this is totally appropriate and a reasonable thing for us to do. So I support this.
Well, the reason it struck me was because it was apparent, if you read through everything, that she thought this was all the core. Somehow it didn't appear that she had all the information on what was really going on. And so in my mind, it's worth the letter to get that, make sure, you know, she's, I mean, I don't know who's gonna see it really and whether it'll get to her, but that was the part, so I'm the culprit, but that was the part that bothered me, was to think that she was going at the core, not, I mean, the way the letter was written, it didn't sound like she understood what really happened. So that, to me, it's just worth it to say, hey, let's look at this from the right angle and again, ask her for her support. So I thought it was worth doing.
I agree, it sounded like it's kind of like the child's game of hot potato. Whoever has it last is it, you know, and so the core was the last one with the water, so it's their fault, so.
Well, I just didn't feel like her letter was that, you know, it was more, like I said, it was just more at the core. And this one is more about we need your support and the understanding of what truly happened. So
I just hope, you know, we get a little help financially for the next time we do this, so. This is about the best way to go forward, get your name out there and do it, so. And I think that's for the best. Okay. You care to abstain?
I'm going to recuse myself from the vote.
Okay, as a person has financial interest in all of this, like,
Not that part.
he has an income.
He works for the court.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask Councilor Stratus to, just for the record, specify the reason for abstaining?
I have been advised by council that there could possibly be a conflict of interest in me being engaged in any actions involving the injunction that is causing the complaints that are being addressed in these letters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, but maybe add because I work for the Corps of Engineers. Just for the record.
I work for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Doing a good job too. Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. That city council, let's see. Agreeing to sign on to the letter and authorize the city's logo to signify approval. For that guy. Did I say anything there?
That's fine, okay. Good, need a second, Jimmy needs a second, okay, the other Jimmy. All those, okay, further discussion, questions or anything about this? Okay, all those in favor, council, approving a motion to agreement to sign to the letter and authorize the city's logo to be listed or attached to it, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed. I did come out smoothly. How about we go to 14? Safe drinking water.
All right, in December, the Public Works Director, City Engineer, and I met with Business Oregon and U.S. Department of Agriculture representatives to discuss the one-stop meeting process for water treatment. During the one-stop meeting, these representatives analyze information we gave them on our needs, on our finances, and they prepare a full spectrum of what those financing options look like in terms of loans and in terms of grants, so that we can pick and choose what we want to do. At that pre-one-stop meeting, they advised us to submit a letter of interest for the Safe Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund for the water treatment plant financing. The letter of interest authorizes them to start preparing options under the Safe Water Drinking Revolving Loan Fund. It doesn't obligate us to move forward with that. I'll be presenting that to you with a full picture of all of these options. The deadline for submitting the letter is January 15th. And your approval is required. And I just want to explain for the benefit of the public why we're looking at the one-stop process. The staff and I had a conversation with our city engineer back in December, looking at developments that have already been approved, developments that have recently come online, developments that are approved but not yet built. And we started looking at our water treatment limitations. And we already have difficulties in the summertime with the water treatment plant running almost continuously. So I believe we're behind the curve on getting started on a treatment expansion. And I believe it's a good time to, considering that our water master plan is a little bit over a year old. So I believe it's an opportune time to start looking at that capital improvements plan. And again, going through the one-stop process, it doesn't obligate us. It just shows us the full picture of the options. We can pick and choose what we want to do, if anything at all. But I believe we should at least see what's out there.
We need to have information.
Do you suppose that this is, they get this all together so that they can request funding? Is that what the point you think of this is, these
An
pre
aggregate,
everything? Huh?
an aggregate of needs.
Yeah. Just for their, I mean, it all has to come from someplace. This doesn't magically appear. That's why I was just trying to wonder why they're doing it in the process that they're doing it. And that's all I could come up with. Do you know any different?
That's not a perspective I had considered. I do know that to go through that process, we turn in a lot of information. Their finance officer analyzes it to see what we can afford and see what the impact would be for rates. So that's all I understand at this point.
When you said it's grants too, right? Grants.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's a good way to-
Money's gotta come from someplace, and I
Yeah,
wondered if
no,
that's
I
what
get
they're
it,
just trying
yeah.
to see what the need is out there, what the desire is to see how big the pie needs to be or something.
I'm afraid I don't have a good answer for you.
I agree with Councilor Harris. This is just information gathering. We need to know what's available before we can make any decisions. And I support this.
How much money you need?
The whole amount of the,
No, I mean statewide, they're going out just trying to see what kind of number
oh,
nation or statewide is, are we talking about, you know, is it something that they can put in the budget or something they waive at, I don't know, but it just seems like the,
kind of feels like if you don't get on the list, though, you might
that's
be
exactly.
SOL, so.
Yep. You may get a slice of the pie, you know, this way, you know. Okay. Other questions? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a safe drinking water revolving loan fund letter of interest to authorize the city administrator to sign and submit the letter of interest.
Okay, motion by Jenny, second by Maureen. A motion to approve safe drinking water revolving fund. Anybody, other questions or comments? All those in favor of motion to approve a safe drinking water revolving loan fund letter of interest and to authorize the city administrator to sign and submit the letter of interest, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're down to 25 now.
All right, this is the one-stop financing meeting information request form.
This is what really. Public. Nothing like a good government process.
Yeah.
So I have to fill out this form to get a meeting set up. And
It's a thing.
it's the same as what I mentioned previously with the meeting with Business Oregon and USDA.
You have to fill out.
It's a thing, yeah.
Okay.
I was kind of surprised to see the median income be that high. I didn't think that was the case.
I was too.
Last data that we got, I would be concerned about that. Remember that thing that sent out to us? That's hard to believe.
That was my reaction to it.
Might want to check that before we send it in. Who filled it out?
This was, I got this from the census. From the Census Bureau.
Oh, you filled this in from the census?
Yep.
That's fine.
And the low moderate income percentage, that's from the state.
And is that for city limitsable?
Yes.
Got one?
The numbers.
I'll make a motion to approve a one-stop financing meeting information request form and to authorize the city administrator to sign and submit the form.
Second.
Okay, motion by Gail, second Jenny. Motion to approve the one stop. Any further discussions, comments? Right, go ahead and see the balls rolling anyway. All those in favor of motion to approve a one-stop financing meeting with information request form to authorize the city administrator to sign and submit the form. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. That's no other business, no mayor.
I just had a comment. I
What's
don't
that?
see, I don't see council comments on here, but I want to maybe speak
Sure.
in the community. Hey, Paul, I was thinking maybe, you know, in a different community of my hometown years ago, we did a fundraiser with stencils for, to spray paint addresses and people could donate $5 or they could donate 50. I'll talk to the school about whether they're interested and see whether that might be something that we can make it a community thing.
That would be.
And also I've talked to Lon too, because maybe the firefighters, some would rather do it too. They might be able to get more donations out of it.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so anyway, that just occurred to me while I was sitting here.
I think that's a good idea. Otherwise, if I remember, those guys, they send you letters, and it's like $20 to put 3 letters or 3 numbers on your curb, so, you know,
Yeah,
I'm interested in that. My numbers wouldn't good.
Don't you nothing to put it on your house.
Yeah, I got them both.
I got a can of spray paint.
Really getting the kids.
you got a can of spray paint.
You gonna tag his curve?
We want this. one.
They call me Banksy.
I got time. Further, public comments, anything?
I have one.
Okay.
I'm kind of confused, when a citizen attends a meeting here, they get up and they ask questions, I don't understand the process. Council, as far as you people discussing the question and how that works, because people ask questions and it seems like the council never gets back to them on the answer.
We take your comments. And if we find them appropriate, we go to the city administrator and have him come back with something at a later moment. But as to set up a conversation between us, going back and forth, is more of a business meeting, not a roundtable discussion. So,
It's all recorded.
I'd like to also piggyback on that. I just put 3 questions in 3 areas of information that I would like to learn. I have submitted in the past actual letters to the city. I've never gotten an answer. I don't think you do, Mr. Mayor. I don't think you answer questions. Now, you're telling Paul that you go through a process with the city administrator, and yet Jeremy, do you get back to everybody and answer questions that are directed at this meeting?
I'll answer that as appropriate, we will discuss them.
Pardon me?
As appropriate, we will discuss them. If it's according to what we're interested in, it's for the city, that we'll sit down and discuss them. We'll bring it up at a later date.
So the enforcement of the code section, which is endemic to your job here, you're gonna get back to me and answer the question that I asked about.
I didn't say that.
What did you say?
I just said as appropriate, we will respond.
Who considers it appropriate?
I'll discuss it with the city administrator. And if it's something that's actually action item, then we will do something. But to say that somebody has a car parked up on their own property, we're not gonna go on there and tow it off their property.
Well, I can understand some of the things, but I have been in front of this group in the past and have never received any information back, and it has to do with legal code sections that you people are responsible for, and yet I have never received anything back from anybody.
Thank you.
Does that mean you're gonna get back to me?
No. Yes, thank you.
I'd just like to make one more comment.
Okay.
And that is that I consider this group a do-nothing group when it comes to taking good care of this beautiful potential little community.
Thank you.
Enough to take exception to it. Only because everybody here has something to do with how well we live. And if you're going to start picking from individuals, it's gonna get worse. Okay? Let them do their job. Take care of the problem. Then they go on from there.
I will agree with what you say, doing their job, and I don't consider that they're doing the job.
You're just going to work.
Stephen Brothers, I'm a resident of 503 Carroll Street. It's because I didn't make myself there. This is my first meeting, so I'm not super comfortable. I'm not a great speaker, but this gentleman brings some things up that I came specifically to kind of address tonight. And to your point of people parking on their lawn, which, if I'm not mistaken, I've looked at city codes, we're not supposed to park vehicles on lawn, they're not supposed to park vehicles on the street in the city of Lowell. I also understand that the dynamic of the family has changed since these codes were originally written. We have multiple families and individual dwelling units now. But the concern of how do you find a residency? And if we're gonna spray paint numbers on the curb, what good is that when half of my street, you can't see the curb? There are vehicles industry to industry. And my concern with some of that is this particular corner right outside the fire hall is getting to a point it's dangerous to drive. There are so many vehicles at this residency that I cannot safely see the street to merge onto it to turn right to go home. I've had to alter my course home because I am concerned to take that corner because there are children present. There's a family that lives there. There are, I believe I counted 13 vehicles this morning, and not all of them were present at the house that I know were there. So I'm not expecting a grand call to action. I don't want us to persecute or come down on some of our community members. But I think at a point when someone's property is beginning to look like a used car lot and the vehicles haven't moved in months, and they are beginning to bleed onto the street and cause a dangerous environment for the rest of the community, I think it's time that we start to look at an appropriate action. So I don't have a recommendation of what that is. I don't think I'm the person to do so, but I just wanted to bring my concerns before the council because it's gone unchecked for months and it seems to just be getting worse. But
On my street, we don't have curbs.
yes,
That might.
And that was just one example of a fundraising.
Yes,
that I remember.
and that wasn't.
I don't have curbs on my street either.
And that wasn't to say that it's not
Yeah.
an idea, it's just, I think that when we look at a plan, we need to consider the variable street to street. There's not a uniform neighborhood design in the city of Lowell.
Developed over too many years. You might look at Oak Ridge PD on that and just have them look at the.
May I make?
The fire district has addressed this. We've done articles in the newsletter before. I would really, it's generally the fire district that does that because they're the ones that are doing the emergency calls for service and they're usually, and I'm not trying to just put it off onto them. I'm saying that this is what they do and they know the properties that are hardest to get to because they're the ones they're responding to. And I would just, I'll do it. I mean, I can go talk to them. I thought you might want to just because you've got it's on your heart, but it's I put he's put a couple of articles in the paper over the years, and so maybe it's just time to do that again, and then, you know, have people, because even if you've got a big sign up there, if you don't have a porch light, people can't see it and that sort of stuff, but it behooves the homeowner to make sure your house number is there. It's in my interest. I got a big thing, of course, a friend of mine made it for me, but you know, it's in my best interest, not necessarily the city's best interest, to know my address. I'm getting the package, I'm getting the EMS call. That's so, but we can help people and maybe we can make it fun and maybe we can make some community group be able to do good things with some money if we do that.
We have a lot of volunteers. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's
I think that will give you a
Win-win,
turnout. I
looking
think,
for a win-win here.
yeah. And for you that don't have curbs, we'll just paint it in the middle of the street.
Well, in the county, you've seen those, they're special markers.
Yeah.
And those are supposed to be out there too. Every house is, but again, that's governed by the fire district boundaries are the same as the school district boundaries. And that's what those are for. They're all standardized. They're supposed to, there's even rules, just like our mailboxes, there's rules about where those go. Maybe we get those in town. They're generally for county, but you know, for those of us that don't have nice open curbs to paint on,
Good point.
you know, but somebody makes those, so they're standard. So we're not having to try and have somebody put a big old sign that then blocks the neighbor's vision, you know, trying to get out because they want a 4x4 sign. So again, I think people know how to do this. We just, every now and then, we gotta remind ourselves to do these sorts of things.
Very good point. Very good point. Yes, oh,
I'll bring it up to Mr. Warren.
You're on the fire board.
That's right.
There you go.
I haven't had a chance to really speak up all that well, but it's something that they might do. And we can also investigate and see if maybe there's some method to establish a home number on the home or a reflective number, which is easily seen by everybody, not just the fire department. But I'll talk to Lauren about it, okay?
I have another comment, not related to any of the aforementioned comments here, but I think we're seeing an uptick in crime in the community again. We were kind of in a lull period where I think a couple of folks were arrested and we saw a period of decline in the property crimes around Lowell. I think we're seeing an uptick again.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good to get that message out to people. Not everybody maybe is on Fall Creek Neighborhood Watch or the different things, but there's definitely some people, taking advantage of unlocked vehicles. And I know person I know had their fuel lines cut on their boat. I don't know if they were trying to steal the motor to the boat. They weren't sure. They were just trying to steal fuel, but they were going behind their house and stealing gas out of their shed. So I think helping the public have visibility on the fact that there is that uptick again, it would be a good thing. I know people immediately kind of prompted people looking back into, what were our priorities for our law enforcement, but I think at least messaging out and letting people know at this point, I think we've done quite a bit of investigation into alternative law enforcement methods, and unfortunately they're cost exorbitant, but at least informational to the citizens of Lowell would be a good thing. So.
Yeah, like, with all the hours of darkness, the motion lights, it's a simple.
Locking,
Thing that
lock
helps.
your vehicles up and don't leave anything.
Yeah, I can't believe the number of people that still don't lock their vehicles. I used to know, but I do now.
Yeah. So.
very good points. If not, we're adjourned at 7:43.
I have a friend who's Stephen brother. And